What's up, students? Welcome to another primary source walkthrough video. This time, we're going to be examining William McKinley on American exceptionalism. So strap yourselves in, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a real live one for you. Here is the source. You can find it on the American Yop, an open source textbook that I am using for my courses, and probably if you are not in one of my courses, one of your instructors might be using it too. So what we're here to talk about today is we're here to talk about imperialism. And if you're in one of my classes and you have seen my live stream on American imperialism, you've probably got a pretty good sense of what exactly we're going to talk about here. But just in case you're not, let's go ahead, set the scene just really quickly. Then let's dig into the source itself and see what this source can give us in terms of evidence to talk about the the logic of American imperialism, a little bit of the ideology behind it, and maybe we can make some connections to other sources you have either heard of or read before, and we'll just have a good old time. So, number one, this is coming from 1903. So this is like the intro at the very top of the source right here says this is after the surrender of the Spanish to the Americans in the Spanish-American War and the turning over of the Philippines. By this point in American history, the United States has done quite a bit in terms of expansion. Not only in terms of the continental U.S., but also into the Pacific, and it has started some projects in Latin America as well. So if you look at a map, you might see some of the territory that the United States has acquired through mostly ill-gotten ways. I'm thinking particularly of the overthrow of the Hawaiian Kingdom in the late 1890s. There's also the acquisition of Guam. There's the acquisition of American Samoa. Back in the Caribbean, there's the acquisition of Puerto Rico. So there's a lot that the United States has really brought to itself. Now, this is all part of the consequences of an ongoing war with the Spanish. The Philippines is the final jewel. And what William McKinley here is up to is he is defending his keeping of the Philippines, because despite how many people were in favor of American expansion and imperialism, there were quite a number of critics who did not appreciate the United States going out and conquering peoples. And if you are using the American Yop, if you are using the primary source reader from the American Yop, the William James primary source is a good rebuttal to William McKinley. It's kind of the opposite side of the coin. Not that it's a two-sided issue. I mean, it's more of a spectrum of different ideas, but you know, if you're looking for the polar opposite of William McKinley, William James is a really good counterpiece. So let's go ahead and jump into the source now that we've got a pretty good idea of the background and what we need to know, or if you need to go back into the American Empire chapter of the American Yop, this would be a good place to do that now. Pause the video, go remind yourself of what's going on contextually, and then come back and dig into the source. So besides that little bit of context, it also helps to remember that at this point, William McKinley is the president of the United States. He's not going to be president for too long. Things happen, and it's not so great for him. But in any case, at the time, at least, he is the president of the United States, and he's answering his critics. And in particular, if we look at the endnotes of this source, what we see is that it comes from an interview that appears in a 1903 magazine called The Christian Advocate. So we have this General James Rusling. He is the one who is interviewing William McKinley. So and it's reprinted elsewhere, but know that this is from an interview first and foremost, and William McKinley is responding to a question most likely about the Spanish-American War and American imperialism and expansionism. So with that said, it's obvious that he's fielding that kind of question, and he wants to remind us about the Philippines. And he says, I would just like to say a word about the Philippine business. He says, the truth is I didn't want it, but they came to us and I don't know what to do. And he talks about how he's like wandering around the White House and he's like, I don't know what to do. I'm so afraid. I am the president of the United States and I don't know what to do. So he says he consults with both sides of the aisle. He's going to be like, okay, I'm looking at, I need some help from Democrats. I need some input from Republicans. I just I don't know what to do. I'm so afraid. And he gets to the point where there's no answer from Republicans or Democrats. Again, he's wandering around the White House and he's like, I don't know. God, tell me what to do. And he says that he eventually sees it this way. And this is the real meat of the primary source. Like this, the first paragraph and the first part of the second paragraph, it's all kind of set up for the real jewels that we're looking for here. So he continues and he says, look, this is the way I see it. I had four choices. Number one, I could give it to Spain. I could give it right back to Spain. I could hand it over to one of our allies, France and or Germany. I could keep it for ourselves. That's what he's going to do. Or he could leave it to the Filipinos. Those are his four choices. Now, he walks us through why choices 1, 2, and 3, that is Spain, allies, or self-rule, aren't going to be possible. So he says, okay, we can't give it right back to Spain because, hello, we just fought a war against them. That would be stupid. He says cowardly and dishonorable. He means stupid. If we're talking about the language of 2021, that would be a bad decision. It would be dumb. Just dumb. Don't do that. You just fought a war against these people. They gave you the Philippines. You've got to decide what to do with it, and you can't be like, okay, Spain, here you go. Have it back. That wouldn't, that seems dumb. Dumb. Not even with the B at the end, just D-U-M, dumb. So he says, okay, that's not going to work. Why don't we weigh option number 2? Let's give it to France or to Germany. Well, here's the problem with that. We kind of like them. I mean, maybe not Germany so much, but, we don't really have a problem with the French. They're kind of our homies. So maybe that's okay, but also they have a whole bunch of business dealings in Asia. He says the Orient, he means Asia. Okay, so the East. France is there, has been there. France is doing its business in Vietnam at this point. They have a huge holding in Southeast Asia. So don't want to give it to France. Germany's around because the Germans are, they're trying to reestablish their empire, like the way that they do. And, we're about to go to war with them within the next 10 years. So, well, not 10 years. It's more like 14 years because we don't get involved until 1917. But whatever. So we can't give it to them. They're kind of our rivals in terms of business. So if we give them the Philippines, they're going to have more to do with Southeast Asia. That seems like a bad idea too. Okay. There are commercial rivals. We can't do that because it would be, as he says, bad business. So no Spain, no European allies or friendlies like France and Germany. Well, we could give it right back to the Filipinos. What an idea. They've been fighting for independence. And that's why we are at war with them in 1903. We are going to, like, we're trying to occupy their territory. They wanted our help to get rid of the Spanish. They're hoping, the Filipinos are, okay, we've won our independence from the Spanish. They're no longer in charge of the Philippines. Maybe America will do the right thing and follow their ideals of life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, freedom for all, except that's not really true, at least at the time. And the Filipinos are like, well, that'll be good for us. Except the United States doesn't live up to its ideals. And this is one of the critiques that William James makes in his piece. So our good buddy, William McKinley, lands on option number 4. There's nothing left for us to do, but we're going to take the Philippines. It's ours now. And what is our duty? Well, we're going to educate the Filipinos. We're going to uplift, civilize, and Christianize them. Now, if this is giving you pause, and it should, you should be thinking, well, if they're asking for their independence, don't the Filipinos have a sense of life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, etc.? Yes, they do. Now, are they going to craft a government the same exact way as the United States government? Probably not. Are they going to follow the religious precepts of the United States? Probably not. Now think about this. They're a Spanish colony for a really, really long time, the Philippines are. Chances are they're Christian already, number one. And if they're not Christian already, they might be Buddhist. They might, there might be a few Muslims running around. But chances are we're talking about lots of Christianity and lots of Buddhism. The problem is for Americans is that the Filipinos aren't the right kind of Christian. You see, as a Spanish colony, they're Catholic. That's the dominant form of Christianity in the Philippines because Spain is Catholic. As you should know by now, the United States does not really care for Catholicism. That's putting it mildly. Okay. We're only on our second Catholic president ever in Joe Biden. And he's only been president not even a full month yet. And the one before that was John F. Kennedy. That was 1960. This is 2021, man. It's been a minute. So this is to say that Americans and Catholicism haven't always been good friends. So when, a lot of what we're seeing behind this word Christianize here is we need to make them into the right kind of Protestant Christian. They can't be Catholic. They need to be Protestant. Okay. And we need to give them all of the great fruits of American culture. Okay. We need to do all of this for them. That's why we're going to hold on to the Philippines. That's what William McKinley is saying. Okay. He's not doing it for us. Okay. He's not doing it for the United States. That would be wrong. We're doing it for them. And if you're kind of like, yeah, I totally get you because it's gross. That's the language of imperialism. So if we look at the end here, he says that after he made this decision, he went back to bed, he went to sleep, he slept soundly, and he told the chief engineer of the War Department, put the Philippines on the map, and that's where they're gonna stay because I'm the president. And as I say in my notes on the side, like, what a freaking tool, bro. Like, what a asshole. What a dick. Just an absolute. And, you can kind of get my feelings on this guy. I have lots of opinions on him. Anyway, so what I want to really wrap up with is this. Again, let's return to these 4 reasons and really highlight number 4. We need to educate, uplift, civilize, and Christianize. This is the logic of imperialism. This is the logic of American imperialism. And it's following a kind of logic of European imperialism. This sense that these brown people over in this part of the world can't educate or govern themselves. They don't have the right religion. That's been an old attitude from like all the way back from, you know, like the beginnings of history, 1301, like when the English start showing up and they look at Native Americans and go, you know what you need, Native Americans? You don't need fair trade deals. You need Jesus. Because that's what the Filipinos do. That's what the Puritans do. Like, you folks need Jesus. But they don't say it with a Southern accent because they're from England, number one, and number two, they're in the Northeast. So why would they have a Southern accent? Look at my bias. We should examine that. In any case, what I hope you do is take this as a jumping off point. This is the real meat, these 4 reasons and kind of the logic of how that works. But think about William James's critique. Number one, like, how really American is this in terms of the ideals of the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence? You know, if we are saying we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and that they are endowed with certain inalienable rights, and that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, is it here? William James says no. He says no way. He says we've fallen prey to our greed. But you should read that. Also, think about Rudyard Kipling's poem, The White Man's Burden. Because if you look at that poem and you parse out its meaning, this 4th reason, educate, uplift, civilize, Christianize, that's the rhetoric that Rudyard Kipling has infused in his own work. So, you know, these sources aren't just because they're not chosen just because they happen to be about imperialism and the chapters about imperialism. I mean, that's partly true, but they connect to each other. And so what I'm trying to get you to realize, whether you're in my class or you're looking at this primary source from somebody else, that there is a common thread in the ideology of imperialism. And we have to think about how that applies to the imperial project of the United States all the way here in 2021. You know, what are we doing in the Middle East? What are we doing in places in Latin America? What are we doing elsewhere in the world where we're saying, you people can't govern yourselves, or you're governing yourselves the wrong way. We're going to bring you democracy and we're going to solve all your problems. It's not like it's a new thing, guys. So in conclusion, William McKinley is a so screw that guy. And I hope you enjoyed this primary source walkthrough. If you have any questions about William McKinley, any of the ideology of imperialism and expansionism, please don't hesitate to reach out to me in an email. I'm happy to answer those questions for you. If you aren't in one of my classes and don't have my email, please feel free to leave a comment on the page here, and give it a good old like and a comment and a subscribe if you're not subscribed to the channel already. I'll be back with another primary source walkthrough very soon. And until then, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you all in the next video.